Hey everyone, welcome to part 2 of how to paint watercolor wildflowers for beginners. My name is Alexandra, I'm a watercolor artist, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to paint a sub-Alpine Daisy or an Aster. For those of you that have watched my last video, you know that I absolutely love spending time in the mountains and hiking. I live in BC, so there's so much of that around here. One of my favorite things is when I'm out hiking and I can see the mountains and the wildflowers and honestly just the beauty of God's creation. So often when I see that, my first thought is, I need to paint that. And asters are one of those flowers that every time I see, my first thought is, okay, I have to go home and paint that now. So I'm excited to teach you guys how to paint them today. Let's get started. So today for paints, I'm using Art Philosophy's paint palette, Terrain. The colors of paint we're using today is a mixture of balsam and vine leaf for the stem and the leaves. And for the flower, it's a mixture of purple smoke tree, blue shadow, and sassafras. For paintbrushes, I have Opus Allegro number 4 and number 0. If you guys just want to use one bigger paintbrush and one really skinny one, then that'll work perfect. Here I'm using 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. I have 2 cups of water here, one for clean water and one for dirty water. Alright, so to start, if you guys want to grab your number 4 paintbrush or your bigger paintbrush out of the 2, I'm just going to rinse it in some clean water. We're going to be starting with yellow, which is why it's really important to make sure that your water is clean. Otherwise, if you have any blue or any other color in there, the yellow will not look yellow anymore. Okay, so I am using the sassafras color right now. We are going to start with the middle of the flower. So somewhere towards the top of your page, what I'm going to get you to do is a nice little circle. So we're using the wet on wet technique here. I just want to make sure that my paintbrush doesn't have too much paint. We're going to start with it lighter so that we can add some layers as we go. All right, and I am going to paint kind of one forward-facing flower and one that's a little bit side-facing. So I'm just going to add another yellow circle over here. If it's easier for you guys, you're welcome to wait on this step till we paint the stem, and then you can add it in after, just so you know where to position it on your paper. Or you're welcome to go ahead with pencil and just draw in the lines of where the stem is going to be. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is get our purple ready to go. These flowers tend to be more of a blue-purple tone if you're looking at, yeah, sub-Alpine daisies or blue asters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix my purple that I have here and the blue shadow. Just until I get the tone that I want. So I'll just test it on my napkin there. And again, when you start, we're going to start really light just because we're going to add more color in as we go. So I think I'm happy with this color now, so we'll get started. So I have really watered down paint. I don't want my paintbrush to be too wet, but I just want it to be a nice light color. First thing we're gonna do, we'll paint these top petals. So what you're gonna do is kind of same technique we use for the leaves, is you're gonna apply pressure as you pull back. You're going to paint the petals down. We want them to kind of have a rounded top. So you can apply pressure as you pull your paintbrush back and then just adjust the shape of them as you go. So I'm just gonna work my way around and add more petals. So this one, I'm not doing it a perfect curve. I'm kind of following along the line of the petal that's right beside it. And now I'm gonna go in and make the top more rounded. So same thing here. It's not a perfectly curved petal. And I'm just working from the top towards the middle of the flower. Now what I'm going to do is make the petals a little bit longer as I work towards the bottom. And we'll do the same on the other side. So I'm being careful right now not to get it to hit where the yellow is. Yeah, we'll add some more shading to the yellow as we go. But for now, I'm just avoiding the center with my purple paint. And again, the petals are getting bigger as I work my way down. And you'll notice that I'm sort of keeping them all at a side angle, just because this makes it look more like the flower is facing up. Alright, so for these bottom two petals, I can face them down some more. Again, you're getting the tip of them curved, and I'm trying to avoid them running into the yellow. So this one overlapped a little bit with the petal that's right above, but that's okay. Once we add some shading, we'll kind of work that into the actual flower design. All right, now for this flower here, I'm gonna do kind of the same thing but a smaller version. So this one's just gonna look like it's a new flower that's just starting. So this one I'm actually overlapping the yellow with overlapping the purple over the yellow, just because we're gonna do a new flower that looks like it's just opening. So I have two petals here, do one more below on either side, and we'll go back in once it dries and just add some more shading to give it some more detail there. All right, so the next thing that I'll get you to do is clean your paintbrush off, and now we're gonna go to the next step, which will be adding the stem and the leaves. So for this, I am going to use my balsam color paint. And I will mix it with a bit of the vine leaf. So if you guys are more comfortable, you're welcome to take a pencil and draw the line first, but I'll go straight in with the paintbrush. So I will be using my number 4 paintbrush. I'm going to use the tip of the brush just to keep it a nice skinny line. I'll start from the base of the flower and I'm going to go down. Again, we don't want the line to be too straight, just to give it more of a natural look. We'll give it a bit of a curve. And with the second flower, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to bring it in. So instead of a perfectly straight line, you'll follow a curved line, but you could just give it a bit of a wave. Right now, these flowers have bigger leaves, so if you guys need some help with leaves, feel free to watch my beginner's watercolor leaves video. But I'll talk you through this quickly. So what you're gonna do to paint the leaves is put the tip of your paintbrush on the paper, and as you pull back, you're gonna apply pressure to give yourself a nice wide leaf. And now I'm gonna do the same kind of on the other side. So I'm gonna start with the tip on my paper, applying pressure as I pull back. And I don't mind leaving some white space in the middle just to look like the vein of the leaf, but what I'm gonna do is add some more darker color in here just to give it some depth. I'm just adding it on the one side, kind of creates a neat look. And then I'll do the stem to attach it to the main stem of the flower. So we're just gonna do a few more of these. Do some smaller ones for the little flower. And I'll do one more bigger leaf down at the bottom here. Right, now we are gonna go back in and add some detail. So I'll get you guys to take your number 0 brush, and we will start with the center of the flowers. So what I'm gonna do is mix some of my yellow paint with a bit of red. So I have my sourwood red here that I'm using, and I'm mixing the two. And we're just gonna add some shading to this. So the idea is that we're adding little lines just to give it texture. So you're just doing short little lines. They're gonna go from the top, stroking downward. They don't all need to be exactly the same, and they don't need to be perfectly straight. So you'll notice I have them different thicknesses here, just spread around the yellow part of the flower. So we'll do the same for this flower here. And I'm just avoiding the purple part of the flower. All right, so now we're gonna add some details into the petals. So I had my mixture of purple here, but I'm gonna give it a bit of a darker, brighter color. So I'm mixing again blue shadow and purple smoke tree. This time I'm gonna use more paint on my paintbrush, and we're just gonna add in some fine details. So I have paint on my paintbrush. I'll just test it on my napkin to make sure it's dark enough. So you'll see nice and dark there. And we are gonna add some shading. So what I'm gonna get you to do is coming from the top of one of your petals. I'm just gonna do downward lines. So I'm following the curve of the petal and just bringing the lines down. So I'm gonna do the same on the rest of my petals. So starting from the tip, just adding some shadows going down. Now if you want to blend it some more, you can rinse your paintbrush into your clean water, dab it on your paintbrush, and just paint over it in downward strokes, and this will mix the color into the rest of the petal. Again, I'm going from the tip of my petal down. So the other thing that you can do instead of adding water later is just starting with a bit of a lighter color, and you'll notice it's not as stark of a color difference. So I'm just doing the same thing for all of the petals here. And right away you can see the difference from where we started. Now what I can do also is go back in. My paint is a little bit more watery here, and I'm just going to bring the purple color closer to the yellow now that I know where the middle of my flower is, since we've already added the details. So I'll just bring it in, and if there's some overlap, that's okay too. I forgot to add details to this last petal, so I'll do that now. And we will do the same concept for this flower here. And I'm just going to use a bit less paint on the ones in behind. All right, so next thing we're gonna do is just add a little bit of detailing to our leaves. So I have my green mixed here, and I'm actually just gonna mix a tiny bit of purple into it, just to give it a darker, deeper tone. And what I'm gonna do with my really small paintbrush, I'm gonna draw a line down the middle of the leaf to look like the vein in the leaf. So using the very tip so that it's nice and skinny, and then we'll do some coming from the outside and joining in the middle. So these lines are really light, they're not too obvious, but it just gives your leaves some detailing and makes them look more realistic. So again, we're going to come from the outside and draw the line pointing towards the center. And we'll do the same with these little leaves here. So I'll do a line down the middle, and then from the outside coming towards the center. So the last thing that we're going to do is add some leaves that attach the flower to the stem. So I'm going to go back into my green. I'm using a mixture of vine leaf and balsam. And kind of like we did these little leaves, you're going to do some really skinny petals, and they're just following along the base of this flower and joining with the stem. And then I can do one or two that are coming from the top. And then I'm just gonna, because I had darker paint here, I'm just gonna pull the line into the stem to blend the color a bit more. And then with this flower here, you won't necessarily see where it attaches in behind, so I'm actually just gonna bring the green up to kind of fill that white space there. And there you have it. That's all you need to know to paint a sub-Alpine Daisy or a blue Aster. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure that you guys like, subscribe, and comment below if you have another wildflower that you'd like to learn next. Also, if you want to learn a more detailed and more advanced version of this wildflower, something like this one, then comment below, let me know, and I will make a new video. Also, if you guys did follow along with this video, I would love to see what you painted, so make sure to share it with me on Instagram, tag me at Alexandra Victoria Studio, and I will see you in the next video.